Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Coffee, Books, and Rain. We are continuing the October spooky vibes with yet another costume. Have I done one yet? Something. I'm sure. Oh, I did like a princessy vibe that was kind of D&D related. This is not D&D related. This is just a vampire. I am costuming a vampire. And I'm going to tell you right now, these teeth are terrible. I used to have the best teeth I had picked up from Hot Topic probably 20 years ago. They were molded to fit my teeth. They were perfect. I could put them in, pop them in. Perfect. They would stay. I could wear them and had no issues. Cannot find them for the life of me. Have no idea where they went. Went and picked up some new ones, and these are garbage. I don't know what this thermoplastic stuff is, but it's awful. I sat and watched the YouTube channel, burned my fingers, spent 30 minutes. It's gross. I don't know who came up with this stuff, but this is not the same stuff that I used 20 years ago. I'm certain the stuff I used 20 years ago was probably not great if it came from Hot Topic, but that stuff worked and it kept those things in place, and every time I popped them in any other time I wanted to wear them, they stayed. I don't know, it was magic. Anyway, these are probably not going to last the season. I cannot imagine that I'm going to be happy. I'm going to try to find yet another, I don't know, molding cement or something to put them back in another time, but whatever thermoplastic is holding them currently is not great. Anyway, so we are not talking about, this is the costume because we're continuing the spooky vibes, and because I have not worn, to my knowledge, black hair on this channel. So what do we think? Black hair. I know usually I am fairly light white blonde when I do my hair normally, and I actually just did my roots yesterday, so it's back to its usual palish blonde state. However, I also just got this wig from Amazon for maybe 20 bucks, so I thought it looked pretty good. I did have to trim the bangs because my hairline is really low, and so when I put the wig on at where the bangs start, my bangs start, I think the bangs came down to here. So I did trim them a little bit, but pretty much the bangs for this wig is like way up here, higher than my hairline. So anyway, coming at you with The Stone Witch of Florence, Anna Rasche, or Rasche. Anyway, honestly loved this book. This is the book we're talking about, and I really like kind of this theory. I like kind of toying with the idea of stones, gemstones, having a sense of power and a sense of, I guess ability. I think there is kind of that conversation, and a lot of people don't really believe it. Some people do, and that is fine, of gemstones and crystals having some sort of wavelength energy, and I think this book kind of plays off of it in more or less terms than that. So, moving forward with the story, we have the Stone Witch of Florence, and I will go into the summary. Ancient sorcery, magic gemstones, only one woman can save a city in ruins. 1348, as a black plague ravages Italy, Ginevra Gasparo is summoned to Florence after nearly a decade of lonely exile. Ginevra has a gift, harnessing the hidden powers of gemstones. And let's open this up a little bit more so I can see the whole thing. she can heal the sick, but when word spreads of her unusual abilities, she was condemned as a witch and banished. So, what? This is just not opening. Hold on just a minute. I don't like when my tablet decides that it just doesn't want to do the thing I want it to do. So, I do apologize for the technical difficulties as we move forward with the clicking of the thing and the showing of the more words. Here we go. But when word spreads of her unusual abilities, she was condemned as a witch and banished. Now, the same man who expelled Ginevra are begging for her return. Ginevra obliges, assuming the city's leaders are fully ready to accept her unorthodox cures amid a pandemic. But upon arrival, she's tasked with a much different, as she uses her collection of jewels to track down a ruthless thief who is ransacking Florence's churches for priceless relics. Sorry, I know my voice sounds weird with these teeth. That was one of the things about these teeth, is they said it wouldn't affect my bite, and it definitely has affected my bite. So that was another thing. Ginevra discovers she's merely a pawn in a much larger scheme than the one she's been hired to solve, and the dangerous men behind the conspiracy won't think twice about killing a stone witch to get what they want. So, I will say, starting off, I really like the premise of this particular story. If you like The Lost Apothecary by, I believe it's Sarah Pinner, then this is a book that's definitely up that sort of alley. It follows in that sort of vein of women having this sense of power, kind of having to keep it hidden in a sort of way, kind of working in these kind of dark alleys or back alleys, kind of working behind the scenes to provide a service where men maybe don't always believe them, or those sorts of things. And I think that's where Lost Apothecary kind of also echoes a similar tone. It is considered historical fiction, fantasy fiction, and I didn't see in this particular book kind of I think it just does play on that, the gemstones having power, same as the conversation around crystals and healing stones and things of that nature, because there is a conversation at one point where a milk stone is able to allow a goat to provide milk when it hasn't been producing milk for a few days, or provide sustenance or fruit where fruit was previously pretty barren. So those are some sort of magical, sort of mystical things that happen with regards to some of these stones. However, it does seem Ginevra seems to have a gift beyond just the stones, and she's able to sense in people other things as well regarding when she's younger. And so you do have two different storylines kind of going on at the same time at an early point in the story, especially, where Ginevra is kind of more or less apprenticing to another stone witch, learning about the trade and learning what it means to be a stone witch and why it's important to keep that a secret. Because she, at some points, wants to kind of be a little open about this ability, and so the woman she's apprenticing with takes her and shows her what happens when too many people know about their ability, and she shows her a woman who's being burned because she was thought to be dabbling in powers beyond what women should have. And so Ginevra is more or less kind of aware at that point. And there's also a point where Ginevra is quote unquote cursed as a girl because she had looked at someone who was disabled, and a curse was placed upon her, and so now she has to break this curse because everything in her life starts going really wrong. She keeps breaking things and dropping things and mixing things wrong or burning things, and so the woman she's apprenticing with has to break this curse with her so that way, or remove the evil eye from her in order to allow her to be free of this curse that's kind of been placed upon her. I thought it was a very interesting story, but I didn't realize it was going to be kind of as fantastical as it was going to be. I know Lost Apothecary did dabble in some of the more historical aspects of women who did dabble in apothecary sort of medicinal slash poisoning aspects of that time. I don't think this had that same connotation, but I still thought it was an incredibly fun story. I thought, well, I hate to say fun, I'm not sure it was fun, but dabbling or exploring the possibilities of what the different gemstones or the different crystals, the different earth stones could symbolize, do symbolize, but what they could enhance or what they could kind of do for the carrier or what have you was a fun kind of way to explore this story. And I thought that was imaginative. I think with the lore of crystals and of healing stones and things of that nature, I hate to say imaginative in the way that it sounded. I think it was imaginative in the way the story was told. And I could be wrong. There could be stories, there could be individuals that were like, because I had an ebook, I didn't have any additional sources of any kind to explore. And was not able to do any further exploration into the topic. I thought the characters were really well done, and I definitely give it probably 4.25 stars. I really, really wish Goodreads would allow partial stars. That's probably my one negative aspect of Goodreads is like I want to give it 4.25 stars. Like I think it deserves more than 4, but I have a hard time rounding it up to 5 when it's at a 4.25 for me. There were just moments where I felt like it was a little slow, a little contemplative, which is fine. I just felt like I needed a little bit more movement in the story instead of just always sitting in someone's head. And I think that's where I was kind of at for parts of the story when I needed some exposition and moving forward. So that's where I was in the story. But overall, I liked the characters. I liked kind of diving into this kind of his. If you heard that, that was one of my puppies trying to make a bed on the bed. He was kind of scritching up the bed so he could make a bed. So if you heard the aggressive scritching, that was Leo, my little Yorkie, really getting at it. So he hasn't done that in a while. It was really cute. But anyway, with all of that to be said, I do think this book is really, it's a really good read. I think it's an exploratory read, and I say that in the way that I think it's a very intriguing read with regards to gemstone lore. I do, in fact, think, and I know for a fact that gemstones each have their own meaning, and like I've gone into stores and seen that, like, I think a dragon's blood stone has meaning, and like pink quartz or rose quartz or what have you. Each of them have different sort of like meanings and purpose and things. So I know that exists, So this story was one of the reasons I picked it up, because I wanted to explore how an author was going to put that into a story. So there you go. That's my review. I know that's kind of a little kind of interesting, maybe a little bit, because it's not historical fiction in the way that Sarah Pinner's Lost Apothecary was, but it has that same sort of vibe, because Lost Apothecary does have some historical precedence to it. There is some historical like lore behind it, with actual references to things that actually happened. To my knowledge, I don't think this does, but I cannot guarantee it. But it feels like it maybe could, and I know stones do in fact have their own lore. So, anyway, I do hope you'll give it a chance. I know I've seen it on several book lists, and even before I had read it, I was already excited to read it. It's not what I would say action packed, but I really think it's so well worth a read. So, with all of that being said, thank you so much for joining me on the journey, and I will see you guys on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.